We do still have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Dallas County. We've also got that flood concern. And then on top of that, this is a hail report that we've seen. Of course, we've seen severe sized hail the last couple of hours, but this is one of the largest, upwards of ping pong ball sized hail just near Cedar Hill. And we've seen a whole lot of flooding through that area. So this is training storm activity that has been ongoing the last several hours. We've seen a series of severe thunderstorm warnings. And Jeff, at this point, this is our most recent warning where we're starting to see another hail core develop near Wilmer.
Yeah, let's query that warning. This is the latest one to come out. What you're looking at is the hail core that's involved with it. Go ahead. There's that warning till 8:15. Let's look at the Barron button, in-house term there because it's named after the inventor of this software basically, but you see this dark spot. That's indication of very large hail that is forming. Now, we have had a lot of reports of pocket change size hail, and one report of hail that's like 1.5 inch size. That was by Cedar Hill. This could be another one producing large hail. We know it is producing some very strong winds and a lot of heavy rain and a lot of lightning, but a hail threat with this warning for sure. Let me show you this on velocity, because despite all the other storms that we've been watching, this one has really a clear dry slot into it, which is a sign of rotation, and we can see it trying to get organized. I'm not saying there's going to be a tornado out of this. I don't know if there's enough shear in the upper levels, that's directional change of winds, to get something going, and the velocity gets stretched up into the atmosphere. But I think that this rotation is a good indication of a strengthening storm. A lot of times you hear McKenna and I talk about the low-level jet that forms in the early evening hours, and sometimes that's that little nudge you can get to get these storms really rotating. This would be coming out of the, really from the Gulf of Mexico and feeding into this storm here for the next couple of hours, and that's why we always watch on the southern edges of these line of thunderstorms for something big and powerful to form, and we're getting, it looks like, McKenna, the strongest rotation we have seen so far this evening, at least.
Yeah, and that amplification of that low-level jet that Jeff was just talking about typically hits sometime just after sunset. And so that's what we've started to see just in the last hour or so. Once again, that is that severe thunderstorm warning that you see. This is for parts of Dallas County. This does also include the northern portion of Ellis County. You can see that right there, just north of Waxahachie along 35. Really just a small portion of that cell is moving through Ellis County, and then parts of Kaufman County as well. This is all downstream. The worst of it is in Dallas County, south of Mesquite. Jeff, that was an area we were looking at flooding near the underpasses. We have seen video of the flooding from our storm chasers all across really the southern half of Dallas County. We were talking water rescues in Cedar Hill, where we did see some of that heaviest, largest hail. And then right where we've seen that heavy rain right next to Jeff there.
This is where we've been getting reports of high water rescues, McKenna. I mean, we have really been very concerned ever since we rolled in about 5 o'clock that we were getting too much rain in one area. And this is, as you know, in Dallas County, a high density population, and 4 to 5 inches of rain. The structure, the infrastructure is not designed to get rid of that much rain that quickly, so it just starts to mound up everywhere, including on the roads, and any low-lying road gets inundated. That appears what has happened here this evening, and that's why we're getting reports of high water rescue. That's when, first alert people go in their boats and get people out of deep water where maybe they drove into. And this core of very heavy rain of 4 to 5 inches, this is the loop right here in the 35E, and that is just a prime area for flooding to begin with. And of course, that seems to be the hardest hit area tonight. So we've got not only heavy rain going on here and a lot of lightning, we have traffic problems just galore across the southern part of Dallas County. This is 20 in Kirkwood, and you can see just everybody creeping along. You just kind of wonder, McKinney, how long they've been working, trying to get home.
Yeah,
I mean, we're sitting at 7:24. I bet you a lot of these people left an hour ago from work.
This hits, just as we've mentioned, at the worst possible time, but that's so often the case. You get the primary ingredients that you need for some of those stronger storms. You need that daytime heating. So we get to that peak heat of the day just before sunset, and then those strong storms start to develop. And check this out. If you look closely here, you've got semis driving through this, much higher profile vehicles still struggling to make their way through this standing water on I-20. This is right near Kernwood there, and that is a problem that we have seen for a couple of hours at this point. We mentioned the high water rescue in Cedar Hill. We also saw, those underpasses closed in Mesquite, the I-80 underpass there, that was closed in both directions. I imagine it still is because we've seen those training storms through that area. On top of that, the city of Rowlett has reported multiple road closures through the city. These are just an example, a small few of what we have seen over the last couple of hours. Of course, more to come with all of this activity.
Yeah, and you can tell they closed off the inside lane of the westbound because of the heavy rain. And if it gets worse there on I-20, they'll close the interstate and force everyone to get up on the feeder if it continues to rise there. And the problem is we continue to see heavy rain there. This is in the bright colors where you see this rain, not only over the problem area, the flooded area, but look back behind us here. There is more coming up, and that is getting strengthened by this evening low-level jet that's starting to really kind of cue up the line. Now, when we see the line form, our tornado risk just goes to zero, basically. But we will see some hail risk, but the wind risk starts to rise, and the flooding risk really starts to rise. So I've been looking at this. Damon, looks like that organization of the rotation just over by 45 in Dallas County kind of got disorganized a little bit. I'm still seeing a nice clean edge on what appears to be a little bit of a dry slot trying to form, or it was much more defined. You can see back when it was by Lancaster, but now as it's moved a little bit further off to the east, not quite. I think it's a more broader rotation, but the lightning tells me that there's probably enough ice in there circulating to produce quite the lightning show, and an updraft that has got some strength to it. The warning there does continue. The heavy rain that's coming out of this must be very impressive at this point, because you can see not only from 45 but just to the north there, just a deluge of rain going on in an area that has already seen some very heavy rain. And then you stretch back all the way into Ellis County, coming out of the Midlothian area.
And Jeff, it is that area that we're going to see a severe thunderstorm warning incoming here shortly. So that'll be for eastern Johnson County, western Ellis County, just where you're pointing out. Yeah,
so it must be this line that they're starting to see it's getting organized. Notice how just in the last 15 minutes, it's really started to strengthen. So it's a pretty strong updraft. As we take a look deep south of here, you don't see a lot of activity, right? So this is kind of a clean breath they can take in this whole line. And with a stationary front literally sitting over us at this point, there's nothing to push it out of the way. So everything is kind of in this equistatic position where we have the cooler air feeding in and holding the line, and it's just being fed out of the south with all this really warm, moist air. Remember, we got into the 80s today over the Metroplex, and it was even warmer than that down to the south. So the warmer the air, the more humidity it holds, the more water vapor, and that is just gasoline for thunderstorms. And if they're just going to sit here and get fed from the south, we're going to continue to see this flooding problem. We've seen that rotation that we were pointed out earlier. It's still very broad in it. Again, we knew going into all this the tornado risk was going to be really small, and it has a lot to do with the upper air. Just not a lot of support there for tornadic development. Most of this has all been driven in the lower, I would say, 10,000 feet of the atmosphere between outflow boundaries and inflow boundaries, trying to get rotation going. That's why we probably haven't seen a lot of really big hail with this, McKenna. I just don't think these updrafts have gotten very, very high up in the atmosphere.
Yeah, we've seen the hail, of course, upwards of ping pong ball sized. We're going to continue to keep a close eye on this throughout our 7 o'clock show, and of course on our CBS Texas stream after that.